If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the Ron and Don Show. And what studios are we in right now? We have a brand new sponsor, an exclusive sponsor who is our exclusive mortgage broker, the Ron and Don Show. Matt, you got to help me out here. Who am I talking about, Matt? It's Team Lisa.
With a Y!
TeamLisa.com. It's TeamLisa.com.
With a Y!
Team Lisa, Ron, is our new mortgage broker. That's TeamLisa.com.
With a Y!
All right. Hey, coming up on the Ron and Don Show, how come the number 51 got retired now in Seattle with the Mariners? Not once, but twice. What a cool story. I love that story. And also, did you know that New Orleans is sinking and it's past the point of no return? It's past the point of no return in a lot of ways, people are saying. I don't know about that. We'll see if we can save the city of New Orleans coming up on the Ron and Don Show. Before we get to that, though, let's get to the top five.
Ron and Don's top 5 at 5.
All right, Ron and Don's top 5 at 5 here on the Ron and Don Show. And don't forget, if you need help with a mortgage, TeamLisa.com. That's TeamLisa.com.
With a Y!
It's with a Y. TeamLisa.com and exclusive mortgage broker now, the Ron and Don Show. And we are in the Team Lisa studios.
That's right.
Team Lisa studios. All right, listen to this. Right? For those that don't know, maybe you're listening outside the Seattle area. We have a brand new mayor. The mayor's name is Katie Wilson. The mayor is married to a gentleman who doesn't have a job, who stays at home, is a stay-at-home parent. But they do say, according to Como, that he's an aspiring baker, which I think is great. And anyway, she won the election here fair and square. Some people say that was she living at home in the basement with her parents and all. I don't know if that's true. I think it was. So anyway, very progressive here in the city of Seattle, and they said, we don't want Bruce anymore. We want Katie Wilson. Anyway, Chris Daniels, who I love, he's an investigative reporter over at Como. Well, check out Molly and Chris. They're going to set up the story and then listen to Katie Wilson as Chris Daniels says, hey, we're having a discussion, but I want to ask you about something else that involved the shooting. Let's listen.
Yeah, Molly, Seattle's mayor was at an event last week that was interrupted by gunfire, and Katie Wilson was rushed to safety. We did attempt to ask her a rather straightforward question about public policy when it comes to surveillance cameras, but we were interrupted by her staff. It was the third in a series of events that leads some to wonder whether these verbal missteps will have other impacts for the city. Does that change it? Does that change your perspective
let's
at
keep
all?
it on
Let's keep it on.
Let's keep it on the topic.
That straightforward public policy question of Seattle's Mayor Katie Wilson
I'm sorry, I specifically said to keep it on topic today.
is interrupted by a junior city staffer.
Want to have answers?
Maybe we can set up a different time for that.
But the mayor's a busy person.
I understand. Maybe we can set up with Sage sometime.
We'll talk to Sage.
Sage Wilson is the mayor's press secretary and declined to talk further about the effort by the low-level Seattle Public Utilities liaison to derail the conversation.
That's just not great press management.
Sandeep Kaushik is a longtime Seattle political and campaign consultant.
And it's kind of a rookie mistake.
He says the incident followed two others in recent weeks when she refused to discuss Starbucks' corporate expansion to Nashville.
But this is a chance for us to ask you.
Or seemed dismissive of wealthy people leaving the area during an onstage appearance at Seattle U last month.
If, the ones that leave, bye.
Sometimes comments that somebody like the mayor makes can have real repercussions in terms of actual, economics for the city, jobs, and the business climate.
I think it's concerning anytime we have elected officials wanting to say goodbye to the job base, goodbye to the tax base of their economy.
Chris Johnson is the president of the Association of Washington Business and says a spring survey of members suggests more are now looking to relocate out of state, with 91% putting a pause on expansion because of state policy.
The movement of people, both individuals and their businesses, is real. It's happening.
Which may be the next question Wilson will have to address
Yeah, we'll talk to stage.
When the mayor agrees to meet with reporters.
Yeah, so Chris Daniels, and thanks to Chris Daniels and Combe over there, an incredible job. If you have a chance to listen to the whole tape without any commentary, without his commentary, he was interviewing her about something else, and then at the end of it, he looked at her and he said, "Hey, do you have a moment? I want to make sure that you're okay," because there was a shooting in the city of Seattle. She was present. People didn't know, were they shooting at her? And this is around the time that we saw gunfire going on at the correspondents' dinner, right? So a lot of reporters around here naturally wanted to know, number one, do you think this was aimed at you? Because the focus right now in the city for her is if people are leaving here that are wealthy, like we saw Howard Schultz leave and Jeff Bezos leave. There's now going to be a millionaire tax, and it's not a one-time tax, it's an every-year tax. And along with that, we've seen Starbucks. Howard Schultz not only left, but he took Starbucks with him. They went to Tennessee. Anyone that thinks that Starbucks is still here and their main office is still here, it's not. We saw the same thing happen with Boeing a number of years ago. And so he was asking her about that, and then also asking her about her safety. The reason why her safety is very important is because there's a number of cameras right now in the city. And Ron and I, when we live down in New Orleans, we'll talk about New Orleans here for a moment. If you do anything in the French Quarter, they're going to find you. If you pull out a gun, if you shoot somebody, I just watched a story, a homicide story, where somebody shot somebody at 4:17 in the morning, and because of all the cameras that are in the French Quarter, they had that person arrested in the first 48 hours. First 48 hours, Ron, are very important. So they wanted to know about her. They want to know about her safety, and also the fact that she wants to get rid of a lot of these cameras. She doesn't want these cameras in the city. And if you're downtown in the city of Seattle, it does not feel very safe. We're still very limited on police. She is not real loving about cops and police, so she's going to have a hard time attracting people back to the police force. Bruce Harrell is actually doing a very good job with that, and she wants a lot of these cameras taken down. That's what Chris wanted to ask her about. So when he went down that road, because he'd been trying to get in touch with Paige, who works for the mayor, to ask Paige, can I sit down with the mayor and ask her about her safety and how she feels about the cameras? Paige wouldn't return his call. So he waited and waited and waited to talk about this other thing concerning millionaires and billionaires leaving the city and how she felt about that. And then at the very end of it, and it's so awkward, it's awesome. If you have a chance to pull it up and listen to it without his commentary, where it's just him and her, and then you hear her handler come over, and he pulls her out and pulls her away from Chris Daniels, and she would not sit down and talk with Chris Daniels about her safety or about the cameras. What say you? Do you think Katie Wilson, and we got to root for her. She's our mayor. Like we have a President Trump. No matter what, I kind of got to root for him because he's our president, right? He's kind of leading the way no matter what. Some people voted, and they voted the way that I didn't want them to vote, and now he's the guy. Same thing with her. I voted for Bruce. I didn't vote for Katie. What say you about Katie, Ron? And is she over her head here in the city of Seattle?
I think there's multiple things going on at the same time. Number one, if in one light, and I don't necessarily believe this 100%, but I'm framing this up. It's an astute move to say, this is the highest political office I've ever been in. I am a newbie. And so I'm going to shut up here for a minute and not have any gotcha moments. And so if her advice in her first time as Seattle mayor, this is what she's like, I want to keep rising as a politician. It's not bad advice to get yourself a team that has political veterans in it. And I'm sure that the advice on day one is no gotcha moments. You ran as a socialist progressive mayor, similar to like Mondami in New York City. I think he's a little way more polished than Katie is. But to say you have a platform, you were able to speak freely on the campaign trail because there's no accountability on the campaign trail. Now that you're the mayor, you're under the microscope, so shut up. And so we would rather have an awkward viral moment than you saying something that we can't put back into the genie or the bottle, whatever, back into the bottle. Yeah. And so
with Major Healy.
Who
we all know Major Nelson did not
So
know. Either did Dr. Bellows. They didn't know about what was going on with Jeannie and
In the bottle.
And Major
And
Nelson
so
in the bottle on her couch. Yes.
Political advice-wise, I don't think that's bad advice.
Matt loved Dr. Bellows.
Does it come across as awkward, ham-handed, and amateurish? Of course.
Yeah.
But I think there's less damage to that than saying something that she's not expecting, uninformed on. I wish more politicians would do that, actually. When they don't know something, don't say anything. Politicians do what I did for a long time on the radio. We just make stuff up out of whole cloth. You have no expertise in a topic, and yet you ramble on for 5 minutes. That is what we have a lot of in our country right now, where, RFK Jr. goes on for 10 minutes about vaccines when he's not a doctor, has no experience. He's making stuff up, citing unreal studies. And so I would rather have someone just say, hey, no comment. We'll get back to you on that because I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I don't falter for that. And then let me zoom out for my second point on this. Seattle's an interesting city in this regard. The pendulum swings back and forth almost every 6 years, maybe 4 to 6 years.
Yep.
We see a pendulum swing.
Yep.
And
That's right.
I like it in the sense of we have a city that is willing to push the boundaries a little bit. We have a city that looks at what you said and said, we have the Bezoses of the world and the Gates Foundation and Paul Allen Foundation and all of these giant corporations with lots of billionaires and multi-hundred millionaires that made a ton of money in tech. And it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel like when I'm paying $6.19 a gallon for gas and I can't afford to live in the neighborhood where I work. That doesn't feel fair when Bill Gates is, house on the waterfront. He's just buying every house in the whole neighborhood so that he can have a 90-car garage for his Porsche collection. People don't like the way that feels. And so they vote for someone that is preaching a gospel of I want to make it more inclusive for everybody. I agree with that message. We just went shopping in our real estate business for a guy that's not 30 years old yet. I want him to live in the neighborhood where he's close to work. I want him to be able to experience what people that are more well off, let's just say, because he hasn't had enough time in his career to rack up a net worth. He shouldn't have to live 50 miles away. I don't believe. I want him to live, he's got a good job, live close, be able to walk to the boulevard, go have a coffee shop and a restaurant nearby. And it's right at the tippy top of his range. And that feeling, I get why people vote for someone like Katie Wilson. I am rooting for her. I think it will take time in the same way it took Mike McGinn time to learn how politics really works once you get the job.
Yeah, forgot about Mike McGinn. Mike
McGinn was, I'm going to ride my bike to everything. And then the next thing you know, his SUV's pulling around the corner and he's putting it in there and getting his security detail, take him to the next event. And so it takes a minute before you go, yeah, I had all these ideals and I still believe in those ideals, but if I actually want to get something done, there is a police union. There is a fire union. There are all these different forces pulling me in different directions. There are encampments in Ballard where I got to send the Parks Department to clean that up because local businesses are like, we're not having it.
Yeah, and you have to be the mayor of millionaires and billionaires, too.
Of course.
That comment that she made at the town hall, well, they can just go or see or scram or get out of here. Bruce Harrell made a comment like that about police officers and basically losing police in the police union, especially during and after COVID. He said something similar. He learned his lesson. He had to apologize. He had to go back to the union, and then you started to see him publicly on the website and on TV go out and basically beg people to become cops in the city of Seattle. Bruce Harrell was behind that push. Let me ask you this though. A couple things that she brought up. One, how do you feel about cameras? Should be more or less.
I don't see a downside in cameras because Americans have chosen to carry around a tracking device.
We're all on cameras. Every one of us has a camera.
When you go to the UK or you go to Shanghai or you go to a worldwide city, you're on CCTV all the time, and it does stop a lot of crimes.
Does stop a lot of crime. Yeah,
Don,
absolutely.
can you ask me how I feel about cameras?
How do you feel about cameras, man?
I'd rather not talk about that right now. Can we move it to a later?
How do you feel about millionaires, billionaires leaving Seattle, and does it bother you I was talking to our friend Josh. His wife worked at Starbucks. She retired back in 2024. And he told me, he said, hey, and I was also talking to my friend Sandy, our jobs would have been eliminated if because they basically were in a place where they could retire. But they said, yeah, Starbucks as you know it is not the same. And what Starbucks is doing, when they came out and they mentioned the millionaire tax, within 24 hours, you heard that Starbucks was leaving and you heard that Howard Schultz was leaving. Because Howard Schultz went sideways with Gary Payton and the Sonics, and we lost them. And Howard Schultz is a big crybaby. He's a big crybaby.
Well, Howard Schultz would have a different... So this gets really complicated. It's hard to answer in 60 seconds.
I'll give you 90 seconds.
Does it seem reasonable that if someone's annual salary, annual earnings is over $1 million, that they could pay a tax? I think that's reasonable. When you start to talk about the people like a Howard Schultz and a Jeff Bezos into that echelon, they don't have a salary of $1 million a year. They do these complicated structures.
They have a salary of a dollar,
and that's because they are living in a different universe than we are, where they pay virtually no taxes.
Right.
So they're two different things entirely. But when we have... So it would there's too many stones to unturned to give an articulate answer on that. But I don't think it's unreasonable to ask people that have benefited to that level. We're talking $1 million
and it's not unreasonable to go,
year.
No, I'm going to...
Correct. If you want to move...
I'm going to move to Florida. I'm going to move to Texas.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
I'm going to move somewhere else.
And so we have a wealth concentration in our particular part of the world that has been great. I think that we should, as a community, embrace business more, be a little more favorable to business, and have a police presence and also have a tax base and a revenue. The way that our tax system is geared in Washington State has been weird. Yeah. We have a weird way of generating revenue. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago with these school levies. Why do I, as a homeowner with no children, bear the brunt of capital improvement projects for everybody else that has kids? So I could point to that and go, that's not fair. I've been for all the decades I've lived in Washington State. Why am I carrying that load?
I just gave you a Lincoln High School sweatshirt though for free. So you get my point. You got a little land back.
I don't complain about it.
My point.
I don't complain about it because it's part of the cost of living.
You didn't
in a
pay
city
for that
$19
shirt I just gave you.
And so I get people that are frustrated by this.
Yeah.
And you can't just fix one thing. We're either going to fix the whole thing or like it's going to be piecemeal like it is right now.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Bet 5.
Number 2.
All right, I can't wait to talk to you about this. I had a friend come over the other day, and she told me, she says, hey, I'm really into Bitcoin. And I said, well, explain it to me. She said, well, there's a reason I came over in an Uber and I've had a couple glasses of wine. So she tried to explain it to me, and she's investing a lot in Bitcoin. And at the end, I could tell that she really didn't understand Bitcoin. I'm not asking you to explain Bitcoin, but you probably know more than Matt and I do about it. What is the future of Bitcoin? And at some point, do you think it will become a currency that people will use to actually buy and sell stuff? Because the president in his first term, he was worth just under $2 billion, probably $1.3 to $1.4 billion, right? And a lot of the buildings that he owns, he has his name on a lot of things, but he doesn't necessarily own what his name is on, right? It's like when a star, let's say
Britney Spears decides I'm going to open a steakhouse, or Mike Ditka, their name's on it, they're selling their license, but they've probably never even stepped into that steakhouse. What are your thoughts? Because the president and his sons, and specifically his wife, while everybody's out buying their meme coin, they've made something like $2.3 billion in the last couple months off of Bitcoin and crypto and selling that meme. Do you think the UAE is like, why do we give you all that money when there's bombs dropping on?
Why did we give you this free plane? Yeah. What are your thoughts? And do you encourage people to invest in Bitcoin, or is that like going to Vegas and just throwing down a bet? What do you think?
Bitcoin right now is is a speculation vehicle. And so
It's cryptocurrency.
cryptocurrency writ large is a speculation vehicle. It didn't start that way. There was a really great article in the New York Times recently on the person who thinks he's found out who the real Satori is that created Bitcoin. And so at the time, it was a reaction to the financial meltdown of 2008. And some people that were really on the fringes were like, I don't like the fact that the government can trace my money from soup to nuts. When I have to go to a bank or go to a credit card clearinghouse where they have my name, my social security number, the amount of money that transacted, and I'm a slave to this system. I would like to build a system outside of that. And they had to overcome some technical details and also overcome the trust issue. And so I think if you say, what is it for? If what it's for is to live outside of government regulation, where we don't really need that typically in the United States, but let's say I lived in Venezuela and you had a dictator that could make inflation go up 1,000% overnight, where, you know, on Tuesday I can go get a coffee and a loaf of bread for $5, and then I wake up on Wednesday and now it's $500 for the same things. Like in that economy, having something that operates outside of the government currency makes a lot of sense.
Well, the last couple of months, I felt like I'm in that
maybe
economy.
we feel like we're in Venezuela.
It has felt that
but
way.
Right now, it doesn't have the adoption rate to do that. So it's a speculation vehicle. People like it for a couple of reasons that are speculators. For the longest time, it's been unregulated.
Yeah.
And so there's no FDIC, and Donald Trump, you mentioned him and his trash coins. They can do pump and dump schemes, all kinds of schemes that happened.
Making a lot of money.
All kind of meme coins, the Dogecoin that Elon Musk was in. It was a total...
and his sons now are building drones to kill people.
So all that stuff, it's fun in that regard. But if you get burned, I have a friend that lost almost $500,000 when someone broke into his account and stole some cryptocurrency.
Wow.
And there's no one you can go to. There's no regulation. You can't go to the FDIC and say my account was compromised and this is insured, because it's not insured. So, and it also trades 24 hours a day worldwide. And people like that. So where you can go and I can trade on Sunday morning where the stock market's closed on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And so those two things give it this gas. But the future of Bitcoin, short-term future, it's going to stay being a speculation vehicle. Long-term, I don't know. Like if you see it could be adopted. It's hard
Isn't
to
it
say.
Beanie Babies for bros? Isn't
No,
Bitcoin Beanie Babies?
It's more technical than that. There are uses.
Is it
for
our
it.
beer can collection growing up?
No, because there are uses for it. Like you could do. How could you do it? Let's say that you and I wanted to buy a piece of real estate in Ireland. All right, and so you're from.
How about Doolin?
And
by Peter's place, that's where I like to go ride horses.
Okay, so we're going to buy this property over there.
Let's do it in Doolin.
It's an international transaction.
Yeah.
And we don't know them, they don't know us.
Is Matt in on this, or is it just you and I?
It's just me and you.
Just Ron and Don.
And
Matt,
so
you're out. Sorry about that.
We're buying a castle.
Maybe next time, pal.
A castle in Europe.
Oh, wow. You're out on the castle. That's too bad.
That's too bad.
Would you like to work at our castle?
And so we say, how can we do this transaction? It's across international borders. We don't know each other, so there's not a real trust factor, but we would like to do this transaction. Cryptocurrency is perfect for that. We can put a deal on the blockchain that says it has a title, it has a record of the transaction, it's baked into the blockchain. We can reference it if we ever went to court on when the transaction happened, when the currency was executed, what both people agreed, and so we could bake that in. So the utility of that is really cool, and we can acquire that property, and if anything went sideways, we have a record of it that's outside of the Bank of Ireland, outside of the Bank of America, outside of either euros or dollars. And so we can track that transaction. So that could be a use case that actually makes sense.
Does our castle have a moat?
You said you mentioned the property. I didn't mention the property.
Well, we have a castle now. It's going to have a moat, and we're going to. Hey, Matt, you're going to be in charge of the foot soldiers that guard the moat, or Or maybe
Matt's in charge of the trebuchet.
No, maybe in the evening we have some river dancing, and he's in charge of the river dancing.
What would you rather be, river dancer, trebuchet manager?
I think trebuchet sounds pretty good
Thank
just
you.
because of the name.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Bet 5.
Number 3.
All right, then our discussion continued, and she said, you know what? I was trying to figure out how to day trade, which Ron knows a lot about. And she said, I didn't get very good at it, but now what I'm doing, I'm trying my hand at doing some day trading and just letting AI do the day trading. Here's the thing. If you don't think your phone is listening, just by having that conversation and having the phone and I've never looked up anything about day trading with an app. I opened up my phone the next day, and boom, it was ad after ad after ad, reel after reel after reel about using AI to day trade. What are your thoughts? And I think, weren't you doing an experiment? Because some of these day trading apps even say, hey, give us $20 and give us 1 month, and we'll show you how it works. And I'm like, maybe I should do that for $20
If it's
in a
$20,
month.
like, I wouldn't have my hopes up too high. I don't know what you're trading for $20.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of proliferation of AI finance right now.
Do you think it works?
I don't know. Like, it's
a lot of people selling classes.
A lot of people are selling classes and selling courses on. I see it all the time as well.
Yeah.
I do have a membership to a bot. It's not AI. It's a bot trading platform, and I haven't had great success with it. Like, sometimes, but I haven't done huge. It's tough when you're the capital required to make a meaningful income on that. Like, you can't do it $20. Like, it's like $20. You're going to make 40 cents, 50 cents or something. Like, who cares? So, like, if you want to make real money on it. But yeah, I mean, this is what the institutional investors are using AI. Now, but they have the capital. There's more to it than just me and you jumping on our home computer, because the real money is being made, 20 meters away from Wall Street with a high-speed frequency trader that's been around for years. Quants have been doing a version of AI trading, algorithmic trading, for a long time. It's reaching the home user, but the platforms out there, I haven't seen one that I've invested in yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because I keep having these chats with my son about figuring out what you want to do in your life in the future. And I don't think it's just one job, but I do think it's understanding AI, how to use it, how to partner with it. And it's owning things, it's being an entrepreneur, and it's can you imagine if we had a Roth IRA when we were 16? Like, he's 16 and he has a Roth IRA.
I do think it's valuable for a young person or even your friend. Take a meaningful amount of money, $1,000, $5,000, something that you would miss if you did it, and go blow that up in an account. Like, and I'm not joking here.
What do you mean blow it up?
So I'm going to go to this AI trading platform, and you have high hopes, and you're learning how it works, and then
all 1,000, or
like something that's meaningful to you. So if that's $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, and then basically that account will blow up. And you're going to have a huge loss for something because you're going to get overconfident and you're going to make a trade.
Why are you telling people to do that?
Because that's when you learn.
Okay.
You don't learn with an online class. You don't learn from an Instagram reel. You learn from the pain of going, holy crap, I just lost $2,000 today.
That's not holy crap. $2,000 is a holy shiznit.
Right. And so when that happens to you, that's when you learn. Yep. And that's when you figure out what your appetite is for these types of trades.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Bet 5.
Number 4.
Can I say the most valuable player in the Super Bowl is Dick?
Who was the most valuable player in the Super Bowl?
You remember?
MVP of the Super Bowl.
Put yourself on the
Kenneth Walker.
Yes, Kenneth Walker. I hate it when guys go other places and they start talking shiznit about the fans and the platform that they were given. And that guy pisses me off.
What did he say about the Seahawks?
Well, he's on Kansas City radio stations, and he was sitting with a real pretty girl the other day, getting a little comfortable, Kenneth was. And just so people know, Kenneth Walker was here for 4 years. Year 1, sucked. Year 2, sucked more. Year 3, hurt, sucked, hurt more. Year 4, Zach Charbonnet carried the effing water for the Seattle Seahawks all year, and then Zach Charbonnet gets hurt. And right at the end, because Kenneth Walker, our running back, is basically going, hey, I'm going to get paid here. Who's going to pay me $27 million to go come play for them, or $45 million? Who wants to pay me? And so for a couple weeks, he wasn't hurt. For a couple weeks, he ran outside the tackle. And for a couple weeks, and he wasn't even that phenomenal in those games. When you go back and you look at the Super Bowl, I mean, how many yards did he garner? 67? And they're like, we have to pick an MVP, but we don't have one. The only MVPs that we really have are on the defensive side of the ball. Well, pick one on the defensive side of the ball. I'm pretty fired up about this. So anyway, he's sitting down with her and talking shiznit about the front office, talking shiznit about the Seahawks. And I still have my brothers back there. I'm going to go get my ring. Don't come back. I will mail it to you. I will mail your ring to you. I don't understand a guy like that who didn't do shiznit here. Let's for a couple weeks when we went to the Super Bowl. He wasn't that great in the Super Bowl. He was fine. You get the MVP. Kansas City way overpays. I guarantee you his career is over. I guarantee you he'll be hurt like he is all the time. And as soon as he gets that first big paycheck, the Seattle Seahawks are so great to these players, especially when you know what they do behind the scenes. One of the first organizations, as we know, when they cut players, that they have a care team around these guys. We see them get cut on TV, and we're like, holy hell, what happens to them? They have a whole care team, including a psychologist and psychiatrist, and someone that helps them with financial planning, all kinds of stuff, and tickets to get home, and are you okay, and to need housing. The Seattle Seahawks are a cut above when it comes to the way that they treat their players. And I hate that Earl Thomas, he did
Monroe.
the same thing.
Earl the Pearl.
Richard Sherman did the same thing. Good to see Earl Thomas actually come back and make up with the team. Richard Sherman has done the same thing. He and Pete Carroll are butting heads. We've seen Marshawn Lynch come back after saying, I don't talk to the press so I don't get fined. Now he is the press. Richard Sherman says, I don't talk to, well, now you are the press. And Kenneth Walker, for talking such shiznit about this organization, again, don't come back to get your ring. I'll mail it to you. Break a leg. Really. When you're in Kansas City, break a leg. Break a leg on Monday night, because I'll be watching, and if it were me, pow! I'd break his leg, Ron. I'm very, very upset about Kenneth Walker.
Can we talk about real quickly before we get to story 5, the new lows of Russell Wilson cringiness with where he suits up for the Savannah freaking Bananas.
Yeah. Looks like he ate a couple bananas before he went out.
Did you catch his
Some banana. He kind of had that banana bread stomach like I'm getting.
Then he does the Met Gala. Did you see his outfit for the Met Gala?
You forgot it. The Savannah Bananas. He got thrown out.
It's so. Does he have?
I didn't see.
Does he have anyone in his orbit? It's dude. Tap the brake. You are so cringy.
The whole Met Gala I hate. I don't get the Met Gala. I don't understand. I hope Kenneth Walker was at the Met Gala. I cannot stand the Met.
I'm getting a Kenneth Walker jersey.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Back 5.
You didn't hear him, did you?
Number 5.
You didn't hear him.
I'm moving on to story 5.
Story 5. 251s. Which one you like better? They're both retired now.
Oh my God, this was so great. So I went to Randy Johnson jersey night.
No way. High five.
Here's the thing.
That's awesome.
I didn't get a jersey. Just in the same way when I went to Ken Griffey Jr. bat night, I didn't get a bat.
Because you're not.
So I don't know what my luck is with these.
I don't think a Randy Johnson jersey would fit you. You're not tall enough. It'd be dragging on the ground.
Exactly.
How did all the little kids look walking around with a guy who's 6'11" in his jersey?
But it was the day before the retirement ceremony.
So just so people know, there's a weekend. Ichiro, number 51. They just built a statue. They retired his number. When Ichiro played here, he wanted the 51. He had to call Randy Johnson. And Randy Johnson was on the outs with the Seattle Mariners. He did not like the way he was released. He didn't come back and travel. I actually saw him, and I don't know if you were at this particular game, but Dan Wilson, Jay Buhner, they're having celebrity baseball. We were out there playing from Cairo. 1 year, Randy's out there.
I wasn't on there any year.
I think my son is 4 years old, and Randy comes at kind of socially awkward, right? And he came out there and started playing catch with Gunnar, and that's when Gunnar explained to him that it's softball. You're throwing the ball wrong. And because Randy was throwing it to him overhand, he's like, it's softball. You're throwing it wrong. No idea he was talking to Randy Johnson, the big unit,
he probably
which
loved it.
Randy loved.
He probably loved it.
He loved it. And anyway, Randy Johnson and Gunnar became best friends. I have a great picture. But just to explain, Ichiro had to call Randy Johnson.
He didn't have to, but he did.
He said, I'd like to wear number 51. And he wanted his blessing, and Randy gave it to him. And then fast forward to when they were retiring, they were going to retire both of them together with the number 51 jersey last year. And Randy said, I really want Ichiro to have his time. And it's one of the first times we've seen Randy come back in the city of Seattle. There were things said on sports radio on KJR and also on our station. We used to be on Cairo, certainly when there used to be a ESPN radio. A lot of shiznit things said about Randy. And he listened to sports radio all the time. And it really hurt him and it pissed him off. And it really hurt him that he was pitching here so well. He wanted to win championships here. He did not want to go to Arizona. But he went to Arizona and won championships in Cy Young. He's like, why did they get rid of me? Why did they get rid? And it's always bothered him. Really cool when he showed up last year. And I tell you where the healing happened is when he was brought into that ring of honor with Ken Griffey Jr., right? With Dan Wilson, with Jay Buhner, with Edgar, with Mrs. Niehaus. They were all there that kind of brought him in. And he was part of honoring Ichiro last year. And then this year, this weekend, is when they honored him and retired his number. And I couldn't be more ecstatic because I know you and I were there in 95, 96, 97, cheering him on in the Kingdom. It was a very special time in Seattle. And I love when he mentioned the 95 Sonics because the Sonics were making a run with the Rain Man and Big Smooth and Gary Payton. They were making their run at the same time that the Mariners were. And even though they didn't go win a national championship, it put us on the map. It was a very special time as a sports fan.
And Randy Johnson always has a pivotal moment in the history of the Ron and Don show. It was very early when maybe we've done one or two shows. The only time in baseball history, the one and only time where a pitcher blew up a flying bird with a pitch.
That's right.
Happened when we were on the air and the phone lines lit up and we had a great time with the callers of KJR, and the program director heard that segment and he was like, that was really great radio and it helped us to get a more permanent spot on KJR.
That's great.
And that's when the bird blew up.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting in this regard because if I think of myself, what would I do if I'm Randy Johnson? Because if you're not a baseball fan, the way the Hall of Fame works is when you get inducted into the Hall of Fame, the player gets to go to the hall and say, I would like my sculpture to have this. You can have any team that you played for on the hat, or you can have a blank hat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there are players who's had really long careers that maybe won championships on different teams that go into the hall with a blank ball cap on. And so it'll just say Don O'Neill played for the Mariners, he played for the Rangers, he played for the Dodgers, and it goes through and it'll list your accomplishments.
I slept around a lot.
And so with Randy, Randy was not drafted by the Mariners, unlike Ken Griffey Jr., and he was so wild, though, as a young pitcher that the team just didn't want him. So he gets picked up by the Mariners and becomes the big unit under the Mariners' tutelage. He learns how to control the incredible power that he has. And so in his heart, I think he's a Mariner. Then you get traded, though, and if you win a championship with another team, it's hard to not go in the hall as that team. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I didn't win a championship. We won 116 games.
Ken Walker Jr., you're a chief, and if you're lucky to ever go in any kind of hall, and I mean the hall to go to the bathroom, wear your Chiefs hat, because you're no longer a Seattle Seahawk. That's it, pal.
So Randy, when he's going in the hall and then gets his number retired here, that has to be really difficult because it's like you don't want to disrespect the team that you won a championship with. And the people of Arizona absolutely embraced Randy Johnson.
What hat did he run?
I think he went in as a Diamondback. I'd have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure he went in as a Diamondback. Then
which
sense.
makes sense.
But
even
you have
he's here 10 years.
Ken Griffey Jr. This one is interesting as well. So Jr. grew up in Cincinnati because his dad, Ken Griffey Sr., was a Red and right on the tail end of the Big Red Machine. So Ken Griffey Jr., in his heart as a child, he saw Johnny Bench and Morgan and all of those, Pete Rose and his dad, all of those guys in Cincinnati. And so, but he gets drafted by the Mariners. So he comes here. His dad at the time came and became a Mariner. And you have the famous scene of father and son playing in the outfield and doing back-to-back home runs, which are some of the greatest highlights in Major League Baseball history. Then where does Griffey go when his career is winding down?
Back to the Reds.
Cincinnati.
Back to the Reds.
He wanted to wear the same uniform that he wore as a child in the dugout watching his dad. But then it comes time to go into the Hall of Fame. So what does he do? Comes back to Seattle for an honorary run around the base paths and goes in as a Mariner. So like those sort of storylines to me are really interesting. But Randy, incredibly gracious in his speech. It was great to see Ichiro and Ken Griffey Jr. sitting behind him, and number 11, the designated hitter, Edgar Martinez sitting back there. Yeah. Of those three, if you had to bet your life on who could get a single in a Major League Baseball game right now today, Ichiro, Ken Griffey Jr., or Edgar, you could put a uniform on him today.
Ichiro,
100%. Ichiro could suit up today and get a hit in a Major League game. He would get a hit against a Major League pitcher.
Go to a game.
Ken still has a beautiful swing. The swing is still there. I've seen him take BP. Ken Griffey is he'll take batting practice sometimes, and the swing is still there. And I don't know about Edgar, but if my life depended on it, Ichiro at 50 years old, get in there and take a swing.
Well, I was really glad to see the healing. I was glad to see Randy back. He threw out the first pitch to his son, which I thought was great. I saw tears in his eyes. I saw him celebrating with his other teammates. And then he stood up there and kind of just took people to school about what it was like in 1995. Also, when they were taking a run at the ALS in 95, and he comes out of the bullpen when he had pitched the night before. Just really, if you have a chance to pull the whole clip of just him talking and sharing his speech, it's really a beautiful thing. And the Mariners honored him by going 0-3.
Good job, Mariners.
And getting swept by a team that sucks! They suck as much as Kenneth Walker sucks! I tell you what doesn't suck is the fact that we have a brand new sponsor here on the Ron and Don Show. Our exclusive mortgage lender. All you got to do is go to teamlisa.com. That's teamlisa.com. Team Lisa with a
Y.
Yeah, stopping by on the other side of this.
If you find yourself dreaming about a new home, go from just a dream to the Dream Team. Schedule your time at ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. Our second segment, we're bringing in our brand new sponsor, Team Lisa with a Y. That's TEAMLYSA.com. And so, Lisa, there's a lot of anxiety just in the world right now. We're in a war with Iran. I just drove by a gas station where the regular bottom of the grade unleaded gas was $6.19 a gallon. People are feeling stress and pressure around their budgets. And so when it comes to your home, I wanted to give a couple examples to you that you can actually help people with their month-to-month budget. So we had a client together, let's call her Amber, had recently got divorced, buying a new house. She was really concerned about her monthly payment. Are you seeing this a lot?
I am seeing this all the time, more than I've ever seen it before in my 27 years. People are so concerned with the payment, but let's face it, home prices have softened a little bit. Sometimes sellers are willing to give a seller credit towards closing costs, and most people don't realize some of the tools that we have to help them manage their payments.
And so if I'm thinking I have to be at this number, and then when I run the math just in my online loan calculator and I'm above that, how do we unlock that?
Yeah, absolutely. Most people get discouraged right there, and that's frustrating to me because I want them to know all of their options. But we always look at what is your monthly payment, and then we can sort of reverse engineer the math to get there. One of the most common ways of doing it is using a seller credit to buy the interest rate down, either permanently or temporarily.
So let's stop right there because people hear this phrase and I don't think they know what it means. Interest rate buy down. So the person that lends lends you the money, and I always try to explain this to people, the person that lent you $800,000 deserves to make money on their money because they don't get to use it anymore once they give it to you. And so they deserve to get paid some interest. And so you're either going to pay it month to month or you can pay it in a chunk. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. If you pay points, which is a percentage of your loan amount at closing, it's prepaid interest, it's tax deductible in the tax year that you purchase, and it lowers your interest rate permanently for the life of the loan.
So what we're basically doing is, as a buyer, I'm saying, hey, person that's given me $800,000, whether it's a bank or any kind of lender, I'm going to give you a bunch of interest up front. And in exchange for that, will you lower the interest rate for the rest of the loan?
Exactly. And a lot of buyers are asking the seller to do that for them. They're saying, hey, seller, I'll buy your house for $900,000 or $800,000, but I want you to give me 2% of the purchase price back as a credit to me at closing. And I say 2% because that's really what it takes to make a meaningful impact on the loan. And with that 2%, with those dollars, we could either permanently buy down the interest rate, or what's even more popular and has a larger impact on somebody's monthly payment, it's called a 2-1 temporary buy down.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it.
Okay. We did a lot of these back in 2010 and 2011. And then, hey, they went away. When rates were at 3%, they weren't really a thing. But they're back, and they're a phenomenal product. Essentially, what they do is they take that 2% credit from the seller, and it buys your interest rate down 2% for the first year, 1% for the second year, and then on the third year, it would go to the regular note rate for the life of the loan. So let's take an example. Let's say rates are at 6.25% today. That means you'll pay interest at 4.25% for the first year, 5.25% at the second year, and then years 3 through 30 would jump back up to 6.25%. The idea being that we hope there'll be an opportunity to refinance permanently in the next 2 years. Most lenders like ourselves will do a no-cost refinance. And in the meantime, you've had that lower interest rate and lower monthly payment.
And as a real-world example to jump on that, like we're seeing a new chairman of the Fed that's going to be going in. Like Jerome Powell's going to be out. The new guy's going to come in. Like most of the people on Wall Street think that he agrees with the president where he wants to drive the interest rate down. And so, but that could take 2 to 3 years. So now we wake up 3 years down the road, interest rates might be 5%. And so then you can refi, you'll pay a little fees and lock in that new rate.
Absolutely. And there's a really hidden little gem on this program that not everybody realizes. If you refinance in less than 2 years, you don't use up that full seller credit of 2%. So anything not used goes back to you as a principal reduction when you refinance.
So let's do, before we change categories, let's talk about the real numbers. So we brought up Amber. She got divorced. She was really concerned about her payment. And we did another one of these in a townhouse up on the top of Queen Anne. What real dollars? I buy the $800,000 place like you talked about. How much am I saving a month?
It's anywhere from like $700-800. If you go up in price point, it could be several $1,000s. It's impactful.
So my monthly note goes down up to $1,000 a month?
Even more, depending on your loan amount.
Okay, so that's a real savings.
It's huge.
Yeah, so that's a real savings. So if you want to explore that product, teamlisawithany.com. Let's talk about another category of people, and we just did this. It's a new listing that Don and I have coming on tomorrow. Let's call them Dave and Mandy. They wanted to buy a house before they sold their house. And so they're like, it's too much for us to try to do this at the same time. Like, how do we do that?
I love this question because I think everybody thinks, I need a bridge loan. I need a bridge loan if I need to buy before sell. And we do bridge loans. Certainly, I have lots of them, but they're expensive and they take a long time. And in my mind, that's kind of the old way of buying before selling. There's a new product called Departing Residence. And essentially that allows someone to buy a new house. And as long as we know that they intend to list their house for sale after closing, we don't have to count the house payment on their current house.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And we can also put a home equity line of credit on that home if they need to access some of their equity for down payment.
Can we pause for 1 second? When you talk about counting versus not counting, some people may not understand what that means. When you're applying for a loan, you look at your income to finance ratio, and you're counting everything that you have to pay, right? So all your credit cards, your car payment, et cetera, et cetera. And so usually the biggest line item there is the home you live in. And so if you take that off, my income to debt ratio goes way up immediately.
Correct. So we call that debt to income ratio. And that's most people's challenge. They can't qualify to buy a new house while they still have the mortgage on their current house. I love the departing residence program because not only is it cheaper, it's much faster. We can close it in 14 days, whereas a traditional bridge loan can take 30 to 40 days. And the interest rate's lower.
So that's really cool. So we just did this product. Don and I are super excited for Dave and Mandy, like a really great couple. They got a really great new house. Their old house is great. And they're downsizing. What happened? Is there a difference between when Dave and Mandy are downsizing versus maybe someone had a kid and they want to upsize so the next house is going to be more expensive? Does it matter?
Not on departing residence.
Okay.
It can matter on a bridge loan. That's why I like this departing residence program so much. But think about this. It's not just more convenient for Dave and Mandy to be able to move in more quickly to their new house. They get to move in at their own time, their own way, and then you get to stage their house, get it all prepared for selling, and typically they'll get a higher price.
Right, exactly. So if you're thinking, I'd like to downsize, I'd like to upsize, I'd like to do whatever, but I don't know what I'm doing with my house right now, Team Lisa with a Y, that's the second category. And then the third category was a guy like me. I bought this investment property. We had to get a construction loan because it was uninhabitable, didn't have water, there was no kitchen, the bathroom had been torn out. So we had to get a construction, almost like a hard money loan. And then when we were coming to the end where the city of Seattle was stamping off on that, I turned to you and I said, Lisa, get us out of this higher interest rate and we need to save some money now. Talk to me about that process.
Yeah, I mean, that works really well. Essentially, you bought a property for a good price. You were able to add value and increase the value of that property. And once you got it to a point where it was, you could live in it or rent it out in your case, then we can come in and do a refinance to take out that more expensive loan. And you're getting credit for what the property is worth today, not what you paid for it.
And so we had to work with you guys assigned us an appraiser that would come to the house, and I met him probably 3 times. And he would say, hey, in order for Team Lisa with a Y to refinance you, you need to have this, this, and this, and this. And he would go through and we didn't necessarily, one of the showers wasn't done yet, or our kitchen appliances weren't in yet. And so he's like, you have to have the kitchen appliances. How does that guy determine what our house is going to be worth so that you can have real numbers when you're doing my loan?
He compares it to other homes in the neighborhood that are of similar size and location and fit and finish.
And so at the end of that, you're basing my new loan not on what it was, but what it will be?
Exactly.
Okay.
And what's nice about that is the more equity you have in the property, you tend to get a little bit better interest rate from us as a lender.
Right. So we did do that. We got our loan. In fact, I just got an email from you yesterday on how I'm doing with the loan and the equity, and it's astonishing to me that it's happened this quickly. So that's really good. So that's a specific product, but hopefully you can see that Team Lisa with a Y, they have all of these options. So if you are payment driven, or you want to buy something before you sell something, or you're like me and you're like, I'd like to do a bigger project where I'm really building my real estate portfolio, you really are a one-stop shop.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So Team Lisa with a Y, that's TEAMLYSA.com. Give her a call today. I think you're going to be impressed.
Ron and Don, from radio to real estate. When you're ready to grab a cup of coffee and sit down with the guys, go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
It's at this point, Don, you would say, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show.
Yeah, got it. All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. Here's Ron, I'm Don. And before we get out of here today, a couple updates. I got a MASH update for you.
The television show?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been waiting for that season finale.
The new Brady Bunch. I have some bad news.
What?
At the age of 96, the actor that played Nurse, what was her? Yeah, Nurse Nancy.
Not Hot Lips Houlihan.
No.
That's a deep cut. Right there.
Nurse Nancy, Nurse Abel, Nurse Connie, Nurse Mary. She played all the nurses.
Okay.
No longer with us.
This shit's a good run at 96, though.
She is, and you wonder when Jamie Farr's going to go. He won't go. Radar O'Reilly's still around.
I loved Radar.
Loved him, right?
Yeah. What a great
Alan
show.
Alda with he either has I think it's Parkinson's disease that he has, and he's still going. He has his own podcast. If you get a chance, listen to his podcast. He's riveting.
He's very intelligent.
And he
human
interviews
being.
people, and it's really good. And the other day, he interviewed B.J. Honeycutt.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for them.
It was really good. And they sat around and they drank some red wine. So I thought that was really nice. And then also, do you remember our friend Liz and Tim? We helped sell Liz's friend's house, and then we helped sell Tim's house not too long ago. She reached out with some great news. Let me find it here on my phone for you real quick. Just give me. Nope, don't have it quite. This is live. There it is. Okay. Hey, Don. I saw this piece on Nightline. I didn't even know there was Nightline. Is Ted Koppel still around?
Maybe it's an old Nightline.
Hey, Don. This is from Liz. I saw this piece on Nightline, and I had to forward it to you. You probably already know. I didn't know, but you think I would, because it seems like I would be informed about this. You probably already know this, but just in case you don't, the woman that owns the Brady house is opening it up for tours starting next week.
When was that?
You and Ron absolutely crack me up whenever you torture each other about the Brady brothers and the Brady bros. You guys should head to California. And then I told her, I said, let me mention this to Ron on the show. Would you and Tim like to come? And she said, we could rent like a Country Squire station wagon. I don't know if we could find it.
I would tour the house.
Like the Brady's had.
I just don't like talking about the podcast.
Well, she said she can't wait to hear about it on the pod.
I would go visit the house.
I have to, and you should try to get him to go to L.A. with you. We could all go together.
I would go visit.
My friend Doug, April 23rd.
No way.
Nice. Hey, what's up, Doug?
Is that his car? Or is
No, that's their car. They have a car parked out front apparently.
You guys are watching on Spotify
Or on YouTube.
Or on YouTube.
You know what happened? When they went to HGTV, there's over 100 people that actually worked on the house. And when the woman bought this house, the problem that they had is the pictures on the outside, and then they used a soundstage for the inside.
Right.
And the soundstage was 2-story. The house was only 1-story. And so what she wanted to do is, A, she wanted to buy the house. B, she wanted to use all the Brady Bunch that was still left and living. So all 6 kids came back, and they were on HGTV. And they did like a very Brady makeover or something to the house. And then the real Brady bros are going to be broadcasting from the house. And Greg is going to be... Greg and Peter...
For those of you unfamiliar, this is the point where Ron will leave the studio.
Greg and Peter and Marsha are going to be giving tours.
That's all.
Not with Davy Jones.
That's all the time we have for this week's show.
Davy Jones is dead.
You can find us at ronandon.com.
Mike Nesbeth is dead.
Ronandonsitdown.com
From the Monkees.
if you want to talk about your real
Who
estate
else is
journey.
dead from the Monkey? And who's alive?
We'll see you next time.
Peter Dolan still alive.
Ronandon.com.
Peter Tork dead.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.